Hello everybody. In this video, we're going to show our forecasting capability, our forecasting system. Okay, and this is really powerful. We use a method called simulation. So what we're going to do is take all the populations that you would use normally by import or by capture, and what we're going to do is we're going to simulate those transactions and then use that to drive a complete forecast of the entire entity. Okay, so we're in our item called Jedi, which is our evaluation company. You would get your own copy of this, and then you can run the same forecasting that I'm going to do for you now. You can run this for yourself, and you can use it to simulate one of your own companies. Okay, you can end up getting quite close by changing the parameters. Now, the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to clear the data. Okay, so what I have to do is press F3. It'll come up clear data, and now that's cleared out all the data in respect of this. I just have to also process over here, so that processes the accounts. Now, if I drill down on output and on accounts here and income statement, I've got 0 in here. The data is completely gone, and you would see that for yourself. Okay, so we've got that there. Now we do the simulation via the capture book system. So I'm going to go into here, into the capture book. That takes me to the capture book. I'm going to start with my sales. Okay, so let's go sales. So now I've got nothing here because I've eliminated all the data. Okay, now I'm going to forecast the sales that I want. I'm going to run this thing. Now over here we have parameters. If I right click on here, it's going to show you the parameters. What we're going to do, we're going to do this in 3 or even 4 sections. The first section is to just go a quick run and look at what our income statement is going to look like, and we're not going to like it. So we're going to come back and then we're going to change the parameters and rerun, and then you'll see that we'll be much happier with our profit that we're making. And then the third section we're going to do is the cash flow. We're going to go back and run the cash flows on all of these. And then finally, as the fourth section, we're going to go back and see how we can drill down off the journals and off the actual ledger accounts and see that everything works with the populations. So this is the first one I'm going to do. I'm just going to click here now on my sales. So what I've done, I've created 600 dummy invoices for the year, and I'm going to process that through. So there I've got my 19,311 as my sales. Okay, now I'm going to come back to my purchases here, click on purchases, do the same thing, click here and click there to process it. Okay, and now I'm going to go to cost of sales, which is different from the purchases. Purchases go to stock, and then the cost of sales eliminates against stock. Okay, so now I'm ready to do my expenses. Come back to expenses. I'm going to forecast my expenses here and process that. I've got 3,144 of expenses. Okay, now I'm coming down to sundry income. I'm going to click here and process that, and there I've got my sundry income. Now I'm going to come back to my treasury. I'm going to come back to borrowings, and I'm going to forecast my borrowings. This is my interest. That's my 257 for interest on that particular loan account. Okay, come back to here, and then finally I'm going to do my tax. Okay, so I'm going to run this now, and I'm going to run my tax here, and I can see that it's not so good. Okay, right, and we come back to here, and now I'm going to go back to my accounts and process the accounts, having done all of those items there. So now we can click here and run this item here, and now I'm going to click on here and click on accounts and click on my income statement, and there's the 19,400. Okay, so I'm ending up with a small profit over here, but I'm not happy with this. This is not enough profit for me. Okay, so I'm now going to change my parameters in order to boost this amount. So I'm going to come back out of here, click back to here. I'm going back to my sales. Okay, back to sales here. Now I'm going to go to my parameters. Now have a look. What we've got here is a base number. This normally be your closing number from last year, but we start with a base number, add in a growth factor, and then this count is just how many invoices do we want to use for the simulation so that we can end up. And then we use the mean, and this range here says how much do they actually move between up and down. In other words, we don't keep it constant, we vary it up and down so that we get a more realistic looking feel to the item here. So I'm going to change this now to 21 million. 21 million. I'm going to click back here. Okay, now if I run the forecast, you'll see my sales boost dramatically, and I can push that through like that. Okay, so now I've got my sales there. Now I'm going to go back to my purchases. Now my purchases are linked to my sales, okay, because of the margin. So I'm going to go back to my purchases here. I'm going to change this as well. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to push this up to 32%. Now this is the big one. This is what's going to give me real profit. By having changed my gross profit margin from 25 to 32, it's going to make a really big difference in terms of my forecast here. So now I'm going to go there, click here. Okay, Okay, sorry, hang on a sec. I didn't, I need to run the forecasting and now run that there. Okay, so that's runs the forecasting. There we go. Go to my cost of sales again, and it's forecast cost of sales and click on here. Okay, that's gone up. Okay, I don't have to do expenses again or any of those others, but I do have to do tax. Okay, let's come back to my tax here. Let's forecast tax, and you can see the tax has gone up, which means my profits have gone up. So I can see that, and now I can click back to here. Come back to Phoebe, and now I can process my accounts again. And now if I click down here, click on my income statement, and here you can see now it's much better. I've got 3.7 million of profit, and my net profit is 2.1. So I'm much, much happier. And you can play around until you're actually happy with this, and that's what you can then submit. But now this is only the income statement side. What I want to do now is my cash flow side. So I'm going to go back again into the system now, and I'm going to do the cash flows. I'm going to simulate the cash flows. And let's go back to sales. Down here, I've got my customer receipts. Now, this is quite an interesting one. And let's go and have a look at our parameters here. This is what we call a curve, okay? Now, a curve, we use 1 to 1,000, and we associate using these numbers, and they grow. They always grow. And in between the gaps, we assign the different numbers. And then we use a random number generator to assign one of these numbers, okay, against the transaction that we're simulating, and then we apply a different thing. In this case, it's very simple. We're simply adjusting the period in when we expect to get paid, okay? So we can see now exactly how that's going to work in terms of us getting paid. This one here is our bad debts, and we're saying that gap there of 24, okay, represents 2.4% as our bad debt forecast, okay? We're hoping to get away with that, or perhaps a bit better. Okay, so there we go. I'm happy with that. I'm going to click here. Now I can click forecast, okay, and it's done this here, and I've got 684 payments, okay, and I can click back there, and that's saved away, okay. And if I click over here now, I can see my items here, okay, and I can go by period, etc., and I can go by debtor, and I can see the different debtors. I see the payments, and I can click here, and I can see by alpha, for example, and drill down. So I've got all my different controls. Now, once I've done this one, that is held in memory, and I have to do bad debts spins off from here. Okay, so I'm going to click on bad debts here and do my forecast of my bad debts and click that one. So my bad debts at this percentage is 474,000. We'll see that come through shortly. And now I'm also going to do my settlement discount. I'm going to forecast here. So I'm allowing settlement discount, 260,000 going to cost me. Okay, come back out of there. So now I've added in a couple of extra income statement accounts. Now I want to go back to purchases and back to my creditors. And I'm going to forecast here. Okay, I've got 17 million of cash flow there. Okay, now I'm coming back over here to my expenses, and we're going to do expense creditors and forecast expense creditors. It comes out the cash outflow of 3,567. Come back to here. Okay, and sundry debtors. Okay, and click here. And now I've got 270,000 of income from sundry income, okay, receipts from sundry debtors, okay, and now I can come back to here. So that's done the cash flows here. Now, those cash flows that I've done are sort of dummy. They're like just held in the system, okay. In order to actually process, I must go back to my bank account as though this cash flow had come through my bank account. So I'm going to click on my bank account here, click on my bank, and I'm going to click forecasting here. And now all of those get brought through. All four that we actually did there are going to come through. My net cash flow, this is my net cash flow, 2,905. And I'm going to click on here to process that. That's a little bit bigger because it's 1,600 items, but this is now being processed to the cloud. Okay, that's that there. Now I can come back to my accounts, okay. Okay, now let's just go and process this. Okay, so now I'm processing it, including those cash flows, and we'll see just exactly how this is. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go to my module, cash book. Okay, bank here, cash book, and I'm going to go to my output, cash book and cash book. And now we can see that was my opening balance, and these are the items coming through here. So the four items, these are the simulations of inflows and outflows that I've got there. There's my 2,905 that we saw. So my balance sheet now should have 4,705, and my cash flow should have 4,705 as the closing balance and 2,905 as the movement. Okay, so I'm going to come back here. I'm going to click back to module, click back to ledger, okay. Now let's go to output here, and let's go to my accounts. Let's go to my balance sheet. Firstly here, the cash and cash equivalent 4,705. So that agrees to what we saw in that account over there. And now we're going to come back to our cash flow over here. And now we can see there's the 2,905 that we have on there. And here's the 4,705. And we can see the cash flow balances and that we've got that over there. If I go to my expenses now, I can see here's my expenses. and that's my expenses, 3144. We'll see those expenses coming through. What I haven't pulled through yet is the bad debts and the settlement discount. We'll pull that through over the weekend, and we'll have that available. So that this one here is what we call the expense control. We don't want to have all our expenses sitting on the TB. We actually have them put away in a separate subsidiary ledger, and then we do them. That's expense control. But these other ones here are ones that come from different modules: bad debts, depreciation, fees, etc., various different items that are expenses, but they come from different modules, not the expense module. Okay, so I can come back to here. Okay, and now so I've been able to see all of that. Now let's go here into my trial balance here, and let's go to my journals. So here I have a set of all my journals. If I click on cash book, okay, I can go in here and I can see that's exactly what I had. Now this is the beautiful thing. Look how these ones balance back to what we saw in the cash book, because we're working in populations. This is receipts from customers. As my trade debtors, receipts from trade debtors, that becomes its own journal entry. As that grows year to date, we have the number. And I can click on here now and jump into this item and go and examine this stuff in detail. Okay, click back here. I can do the same for trade creditors over here, and click back here and go by creditor. And I can see exactly who's paid what or who I've paid. Let's go back now to something like debtors. Okay, and now we're going to look on our sales. So here we can look on our sales. And again, you can go by debtor. So we can see this spelled out by debtor, who's happened there. And there's my sales number there, 22 and 331. So as I say, 22,440 and 3364. Those are all balanced. Now I can go to my settlement discount. There's the 260, and you can see the journal entry here. So journal entry here is 260, and I can click on my bad debts. We said that 474. The VAT on that is 71,172. So there's the 71,172, and I can do that. And I can do that for all these wherever I go. If I go to expenses and I click on my expenses, 3144. We saw that in the actual expense statement, and that's the back portion on there. And I can come back to here, and there's the journals matching up with that. So I've got this total control there on my journals. There's my population. Now what we do is come back to here and go to the trial balance here, and I can click on my balance sheet here, and let's go to something like trade debtors here. Now if I click on trade debtors, here are all the journals coming through here. Note they all come through in the active column. We'll deal with that in more detail, active versus passive, but these ones all come through in active, and I can see exactly what I've got here. There's my opening balance of 36, and then there's that's what's received from cash flow, and there's my sales, and there's my VAT, and these are the different expenses that I've got here. Now I can come back here and I can click on this one here, and it takes me to what we call a cub. A tub is an abbreviation for a table, and a cub is a compound table. So this is a cub, and we can see all these items. These are the same numbers that you just saw on there coming across like that. And that figure 4864, if I come back here, 4864. So I've immediately got exactly what I want to see. I can see my whole ledger, and I can bounce backwards and forwards. If I bounce back to this one, I've got all my dimensions that I can look at here. So I can go by group, or I can go by debtors, okay, or I can go by period. And I've got blistering speed, and I can see exactly what goes on. And I can drill down. I can drill down on May, and drill down on B, and drill down on B2, okay, and then I can see which of these guys, what's happening here. And I can look at that, and I can bounce back, bounce back, bounce back, bounce back here, and then bounce back, and then it'll take me back to my ledger account here. What am I doing here? There we go, trial balance. So just in that situation there, real time, basically, while we've been doing this video, you've seen a complete forecast, and all you've got to do is get comfortable with the parameters and change your parameters and tweak it and tweak the numbers, and you can build an entire simulation of whichever entity that you have. And what we're going to show you tomorrow is that you can take 100 of these, run them simultaneously, because they're all with different people, run them simultaneously, post them to the cloud, and that'll lead to our consolidation. And we'll show you that either tomorrow or over the weekend. Thanks very much.